My name is Haven. I'm a coach here at ClickUp, and I'm excited to spend a little bit of time talking to you about one of my favorite features in ClickUp, templates. So templates are ClickUp's answer to saving you time from repeatedly recreating processes or items inside of your workflow. And they are different from duplicating or cloning items because there is some additional functionality, such as remapping dates. And they all live in one convenient place called our template center for quick and easy access. So you might be wondering, this sounds really awesome. What can be templated? In ClickUp, pretty much anything. So you can template something from an individual task all the way up to a space level, all the way back down to some filterings and views. You can also template things like docs as well. So there's a lot of flexibility inside of the platform, and it doesn't get limited at the template center. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive in, and I'll show you exactly how templates get put into action. So right now we are inside of my advertising agency workspace. I've got all of my teams inside of each space. I've got accounting, creative that has their own thing. They even have their own content hub. And I also have a client portal. Now, the client portal is meant to serve as a place that I can track the life cycle of an entire client. And this is pretty standard throughout the agency. Inside of my client folder, I have lists for each of the phases. I have a discovery phase, an onboarding phase, as well as meetings that will happen throughout my relationship with the client, and a general profile that acts more as a CRM. It's going to hold a lot of my profiling data, such as emails, phone numbers, points of contacts, any sort of platform software access that I need to enable will live inside of this list. And like I said, this is a pretty standard format for every client. So every time I get a new client coming into the agency, I need to create a new folder for them with each of these phases, including all the tasks and all the information that you can see on my screen. So instead of duplicating it, which can only bring us so far, ClickUp enables us to create this as a template. You can access the templating option inside of any location or items settings. So to uncover any settings inside of ClickUp, you hover over the item. In this case, I'm going over the client folder, and I'm going to click into the three dots, this little ellipses. I've got a lot of options here. The template center option tends to be towards the center. And right here, when I click it, I can go ahead and click to save this as a template. Now, right away, template name. Naming conventions are so important inside of ClickUp, especially as you begin to build out a more robust library. It's really important to name something that is easily recognizable so that all the other members inside the workspace know what the intention is behind the template. So in this example, I can name this my client lifecycle. I can also add a description, which is very useful for fleshing out more of the details of the contents inside of the template. Some templates that you create, you might find a little bit of redundancy. So again, getting as granular as you can be, as detailed, so that as you scale, you know exactly why this template was created in the first place. You can also choose to use things like tags, and tags function just like they do inside of the rest of your workspace with your tasks. I like to think of tags as little post-its, little labels that you can just slap onto an item to quickly identify different elements of that item. I can also choose who I want to share a template with. Now, by default, this little all members icon is checked off because that means that it's accessible to any paid user seats in the workspace. But maybe I also want this template to be accessed by my guests, people that are invited into the workspace with limited permissions. I can select here as well. I can also choose just to have it be only myself and my fellow admins, or maybe very specific people. A super cool feature I want to draw your attention to is that we can also toggle on public sharing. So once I toggle this on, when I go to save and create the template, it's actually going to generate a unique URL address that I can share with friends, collaborators, contributors, anyone else who has a workspace inside of ClickUp. And all they have to do to access the template is to sign into their ClickUp workspace and drop that URL into the same browser. And automatically, they're going to be able to pull up this client lifecycle. And it's just super cool because especially at ClickUp, we praise innovation. We are user run. So anytime you're coming up with something that you think, gosh, other people would super benefit from using, this is one of the great ways that we can do it. The final step in creating your template is choosing how you want to import. What is the information that you want to bring over when you generate an item from this template next? By default, it suggests to import everything, but you can customize it. And you've got a lot of customability just within this window. So you can choose to bring over the tasks, the views, the automations, and a bunch of other details that might be relevant every time you bring up this standard process or standard way of looking at things. Some of the ones that I like to bring attention to are the attachments. Maybe the attachments, the docs, are not always going to be relevant from client to client in this example. Or perhaps the custom fields aren't going to be the same because I'm offering different services. This is an option to do when you set up the template. However, in a few moments when we generate this folder again from the template, you'll see you also have the option to exclude these items when we're creating from it. So typically my advice is go ahead and leave on import everything. And then we'll click save. You'll get a little toast message that pops up on the lower left-hand side of your workspace that gives you a message just saying, hey, we're creating your template. We'll let you know when it's been completed, and then it will disappear. And then as soon as it has been completed, you get that follow-up. Your folder template has been created. Awesome. With ClickUp on my side, I'm able to grow my agency much faster than I would without it. So I'm starting to get a lot of clients in. And now that I've created a template, I don't have to go in and manually create a folder for each of them. Instead, I can return back to the template center. I can access it in a couple of ways. I can either choose to go directly to the location that I know I want this item to be generated from. So in this example, it would be the client portal space level. Or I can access it in my workspace setting all the way down here in by my little avatar bubbles and click Template Center underneath the word integrations. The Template Center is alive and thriving. When you're first creating templates, it will be really exciting just to go in here and check out the different use cases that we have, especially if you're brand new to ClickUp. We understand that it can get really overwhelming with all the robust functionality and flexibility of the platform. So I encourage some of you who are newer to definitely go through here and see what we have. It is populated with templates that come standard with the workspace, and you can decide how to find and narrow down the scope of the kind of template you want to use in a few ways. So on the left-hand side, we do have the types, the item types. So maybe I'm just going to be looking for a space or a folder, perhaps a view. And then again, depending on your familiarity with ClickUp, you can choose a level. Are you a beginner? Do you consider yourself an intermediate user or advanced? You can select these as well. If you know exactly the type of content that you're looking for, you can also use the search bar up here and enter in some keywords that are very useful for you. We also have a use case drop-down menu to select from, and we've got a ton. So I'm going to just browse through them quickly for you to take note of. We've got project management. We've got education. We have sales. If you have just general, a travel agency, or you are a student, we've got that for you as well. We have these agile frameworks already built into ClickUp. Again, that's an ode to the flexibility that we offer. This is a great way to check it out as well. I'm scrolling down because I'm looking for a few of my favorites. Let me see. I'm going to generate some folder templates. There it is. The donations, nonprofit, and volunteer work. This is something that I did in a former life, and I've really liked going through these templates. So again, encouraging you as you decide what kind of workflows you're going to be putting in place, what kind of business that you're bringing into the platform. These are really great suggestions on how to use them. We have the tags up here. So as you're building out your library and using tags, you can easily sort through those, as well as who created them. Are you looking for templates that you've made or maybe a contributor? When you first enter the Template Center, you will find the templates that you've most recently created. And if you hover over a template, you'll notice that you get this quick use button that appears. This is awesome, especially if you're just on the go and you're firing out some general decisions. You can click into quick use and it will immediately generate the item. So in this case, it would immediately pop in that folder as is, none of the variables such as importing or dates, which we're going to take a closer look at. If I do click into the actual template itself, I have a few more options. One of my favorite things about ClickUp is that it does cater to if you're very visually oriented. So you can pretty much slap an image wherever you want. You can use colors to indicate different features or functionality or statuses. Same thing with templates. So I can pick a photo or image that represents my client lifecycle. I can edit or read the description here, of course, amend the tags here as well. Something else I'll bring the attention to is, again, that sharing option. So if you've created a super awesome template and you decide to share it with family and friends, great, terrific. If, however, you also want to share it with the larger ClickUp community, that is something we encourage as well. You can share it or submit it to be shared with the ClickUp community by clicking on the Share with Community options. I'll just pop into it briefly so you can take a look. It will prompt you for a name. It will prompt you for a description. Try to be as detailed as possible, right? And then some really cool snapshots. If you've got some colorful custom fields or maybe some list information that populates inside of the template, this would be a really great place to put it. As well as what is the use case that your template could adjust for, could apply to. So checking off as many of these as is applicable, and then choosing whether or not you actually want to get credit for it, uploading your picture, uploading your name or the name of your company that you represent, etc. So this is really cool. I encourage you, again, as you're building out, as you're playing around, as you're finding those quick wins that really feel successful, share them with us. Share them with the rest of the ClickUp community. Okay, super cool. The template will also give you some general info. It will tell you what kind of statuses are included, if there are custom fields, what types of views are maybe required inside of the template, as well as who created it, who it's shared with, when it was created, when it was last updated. All right, really awesome. Now all we have to do to generate a new folder from this is click Use Template. It's going to ask me to name the folder. So in this example, I'll just call this Client 2. And then it's going to ask where I want the template to come to be put inside of. So I'll say Client Portal. Here are those import options again. So it's already saved everything as is. I'm going to go ahead and click out. I don't need the same attachments, different client, different needs. And I don't need perhaps like those same custom fields to be filled out. Okay, awesome. If I continue scrolling down, this is perhaps my favorite feature of templates, remapping dates. So when you go through the process of creating a template based on a folder, space, or list, and your tasks have dates, ClickUp is doing a smart thing at a very high level. It's mapping out how long your projects or what the time span is in between tasks, so it builds somewhat of a relationship. This gets enacted really beautifully when we turn on the remap dates. ClickUp is going to go through my template and search for the earliest task or the task with the earliest date and decide that is the start date. And it will go for the task with the latest due date and call that the end date. So in this example, if I'm onboarding a new client, I know that I want them to be onboarded after a holiday weekend. So we'll say November 29th. It pushes the end date for the entire discovery and onboarding process out through January 23rd, 2022. Whew, I might need to tighten up that timeline with the holidays. I can also choose to skip weekends and then import all tasks as open. Now, this is key, especially if you have finally decided to create a template off something that has been a work in progress. Perhaps it is a list or a folder or a space that you've been going through again and again, really fine tuning, and have finally decided, yes, this is the way I like to execute on the work I'm doing. Some of those tasks might have been saved inside of the template as in progress or closed. So I like to import all tasks as open so it starts afresh. You can also choose to include those archived items or not. And then we'll say use template. And again, we get that very cute little toast message popping up, letting us know that we are creating the folder. Okay, that was a lot of information. So I'm going to slow down as we let that folder generate. I've got now my client 1, client 2, and you can see all of the things remain the same except what I changed. I took away that one custom field information and I changed the date. So if I come in here to discovery phase of client 1, I'll see that my due date for this requirements is Thursday. And if I come down into client 2, we can see that that due date has now been changed to December 1 for that client. So it's a really wonderful way of saving you time from having to go through and pick the due dates and the start dates of things that are pretty standard. You can estimate, hey, this is going to take about 3 days, or from the time a client signs the contract to the time I want things really buttoned up on that final demo, it's going to be about 10 days, no more, no less. Excuse me. Okay, awesome. So what happens is if I start working through this template and I actually decide I want to start using a little bit more functionality, I want to flesh out this template a bit more, I can do that very easily. For example, if I'm inside the client folder level and I decide to add a new custom field perhaps that has a rating, maybe I'm giving my clients a feedback form at the end of different periods and saying, hey, let me know how well this worked for you. I can do that as well. I can also add another custom field that says, give me a checkbox saying, did we complete the cycle? Did we complete the obligations inside of the contract? Was it terminated earlier? Was it extended? Awesome. I've added these custom fields, and to take note, this item, this folder was generated from a template, but it was saved up here where those custom fields don't exist. If I want to continue carrying those feedback custom fields and my lifecycle checkbox custom field to the next templates I use for clients, I can absolutely do that by, again, returning to that template center. I'll access it this time from the folder itself, and I'll click into the folder settings and find the template center settings here. Instead of browsing through all the templates or saving this as a new one that would create a duplicate, I'll just go ahead and update an existing template. I'll locate the template I want to update, client lifecycle, and I will select next. I'll keep the name the same. I don't really need 2 client lifecycles, one with custom fields and one without. And then I'll click save. Awesome. So the next time I go to generate another client folder, client lifecycle folder rather, it will include these feedback and original cycle checkbox. There are so many things that we can template inside of ClickUp, and that is just one example. Another example is inside of views. So some workflows really favor certain views than others. We were working out of the list view, but inside of my content hub with the blog management, my team really likes to use the board view. By default, board view does tend to group things by status, but you can see the team has changed it to be grouping by priority. However, I would really like to see boards organized in a slightly different way. So I'm going to go ahead and add another board view to this example, and I'm going to call it my custom field board, because there's a certain parameter that I would like to see these tasks grouped by. I'll go ahead and add the view. And now I'm going to group it by the custom field of draft type. So now whenever I come into my blog management, I can come to this board, the CFs board, and I can see which items are being delegated into which drafting phase. Now this is super awesome, saving it as a view. This works really well. But let's imagine, for instance, that we have a custom field across several spaces. And I really like to jump into my boards and see it just like this. I can save this formatting of the board as a template. I'll come and hover over the board itself, find those settings, that menu, again, accessed by the ellipses, find the template center, and then click Save as Template. And I'll name this CF's board. And then I'll put drafts, because again, we look for something easily recognizable and pretty explicit. And so I guess I should change that, drafting phase. How about that? That's more explicit. And then click Save. Now if I go into any of my other boards, I can apply that same template by clicking into it, accessing the template center again, browsing, and checking off views. So let's give it a moment. I've got a couple of views going on. There we go. And I'll say quick use for now. Now it's coupled all of my drafts accordingly, just as I like it, just as I like to save it. And for additional cherry on top, I'll go ahead and pin this because this is, like I said, how I like to view the activity here. All right, so from single tasks to folders to lists to space, now views, you understand there's a lot of ways that you can template. I'll show you two more things before we sign out. Quickly, if I don't want to just save the board itself, I can save layers of filters. So if I come to the everything level and it shows me all of the content inside of my entire workspace, I can turn on a filter that says I want to see something that has just a priority level, that is urgent and high, that I am assigned to, and that has a due date of this month. Now, I don't want to save this view. I don't want people to be forced to look at it with my amendments. However, I can save this layer of filter, these three together, as a template. Anytime you see that magic wand, it means, hey, save it for future use, reuse it again. So if I click into the templates here, I can put it either just for my personal use, saving as active templates or saving as active filters under my filters, or as an entire workspace filter set. I'll go ahead and do that so that my team members can access it. Monthly priorities. Amazing. And now if I go into any other view, including a board view, I can select that filter option, go into the templates, and see those filters get applied. The last thing I'll mention is that you can also template other types of views, not just tasks views. That's where we spend a lot of our time today. However, we can template docs. So if you are in the process of making some SOPs, some of those standard operating procedures, or a handbook or a manual inside of ClickUp using our new Docs 3.0, nesting a bunch of pages, etc., this can very easily be templated as well. So maybe you have a standard operating guide that you want all of your teams to follow. You do it the same way, finding those hidden treasures, finding the settings where you want to be saving it, going to the template center and clicking Save as Template. Using templates is a sure game changer in saving your time and cutting out any of the extra labor that you have when you're trying to manually create processes. If you have any questions, please feel free to wrap it up, put it inside the chat, reach out to help@clickup.com for additional support. We are here to help you every step of the way. Have a wonderful Tuesday. Thank you all for joining.